and welcome to Power Play, supporting youth as community change makers. And thank you to the East Bay Community Foundation and Ascend BLO for this amazing opportunity. My name is Alicia Dixon. I am the Executive Director of the Marcus Foster Education Institute.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Kevin. My name is Arianna Morales. I'm the Program Manager at the Marcus Foster Education Institute.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Janasha Higgins. I'm the Research Evaluation and Data Manager here at Marcus Foster.
And Courtney Riley is also here. She's a MFEI Strategic Relationship Manager. She's our tech support for the morning. So on this panel, we'll share the highlights of our youth leadership model and have ample time for question and answer at the end of our presentation. If you have questions, comments, or if you're experiencing any technical challenges, please feel free to use the monitor chat box. So I think we're ready for our first slide. This is Dr. Marcus A. Foster, the first African-American superintendent of Oakland schools. He founded MFEI 47 years ago. His no-nonsense, logical, and direct approaches to improving academic outcomes for Oakland students was remarkable, and that he also held high expectations of the schools and the entire Oakland community for improving student outcomes. He expected much from his students academically and socially. He expected them to lead, and so do we. And so do we. He fundraised to support student, teacher, and administrator change ideas and called the initiative New Notions for Excellence. This was a half century ago, back in 1970. Reset, which Arianna and Janasha will share the details of in just a bit, is a deep reflection of MFEI's roots and its current mission, advancing systemic change and education equity for all. This new mission requires us to look at barriers in education systemically through a broader lens. Education is the most significant social determinant of health, meaning the level and quality of education attained are directly correlated to overall health and well-being. Underperforming schools that are over-policed and under-resourced in communities that are over-policed and under-resourced have limited capacity and ownership to prepare the most marginalized students for post-secondary completion. This really makes improved physical and mental health, economic security, and sustained political and social capital equally elusive. The graduation data presented here presents abysmal picture for American Indian, African American, and Hispanic young people. They're still represented at their graduation rates, are still below the average, the state average. These data are reflective of the current conditions, but the results are not the sole responsibility of the students being measured here. Our systems, in this case, statewide school districts, individual schools, and communities, inclusive of all public institutions, should also be measured to hone in on why we perennially see these results and why they are acceptable. To achieve equity at scale, systems, schools, school districts need partners willing to objectively look at their practice based on the results they produce and change them. Young people are needed to design and create a new vision for what is possible. We're going to bring up an image from one of our most recent reports. In order for students and their families to have access to real opportunities, large-scale change is needed. But that change can't be a one-time event. The change must be embedded as a matter of practice with accountability that is based in partnership, policy, and possibilities. These images, the first one on the my right, they're from a report actually that we prepared for one of our initiatives, the College Bound Brotherhood. CBB is an initiative focused on college success of Bay Area African American men. Both images present a tangible representation of the power of systems by depicting what happens to the fish, representing our young people when the very water that they swim in day in and day out is contaminated. So the image on the left represents that contamination. And that contamination represents broken systems and non-existent safety nets. Systems should work to purify the water so the fish, our students, are able to thrive. When we solely focus on the student, or in this case, the fish, we minimize our potential for broad social impact. I think I'm on my last slide before we turn it over to Janasha and Arianna. So youth leadership demonstrated through equity-focused, broad-scale change and ongoing attention to improvement is MFEI's view of systems change. Young people have always led the way. Our ancestor John Lewis is a powerful demonstration of that. In these times of the dual pandemics of COVID and blatant institutional racism, we know youth voice and action are at the center of the work ahead and at the center of the needed change. We offer this youth leadership methodology as an essential complement to the traditional tools of protest, organizing, and policy advocacy strategies and tactics. Arianna and Janasha will share details and shoots of this work and the tools we use to support lasting and meaningful youth leadership. With that, I'll turn it over to Arianna. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. So as Alicia shared, MFEI has been directly engaged in these kinds of initiatives, utilizing what's known as continuous improvement or improvement science tools with K-12 districts, post-secondary institutions to achieve and improve equity through systemic changes. It was through this systems change work, along with our work as scholarship providers, that we observed a gap in student voice at the table in the design and implementation of systemic changes in education, and even in the one-on-one advisement that the students receive on their own college and career preparation. At MFEI, we also administer scholarships where every year we typically award anywhere from 60 to 200 graduates from primarily Oakland public schools. And from our scholarships, we can consistently see in our scholars' writing that their college and career journeys are deeply fueled by their desire to support their community and family. Our scholars in a given year are generally 95% students of color, upwards of 90% low income, and nearly 90% first generation college students. And from that, they have a lot that's motivating them in moving forward. So this is a quote from a young man we supported in 2013 who says, "For my sister, for my community, for young Black men in my shoes who don't know what else they can do and have lost everything, for my mom, for me. For me, this is my responsibility to be great." And so we knew that we needed to bring in young people differently, hearing these kinds of words. In doing an analysis of our scholars' essays from past years, and then doing surveys with youth in local public high schools, we came to three major pillars grounded in what the students said were their greatest assets or needs to support their college and career trajectory. The first pillar is people and ideas. These are opportunities that the young people have to access and connect with their peers and adult professionals to ideate, to network, and grow their social capital to advance their goals. The other is resources and information. This is more transactional, but just as essential in terms of the elements needed to be successful. Access to financial aid, the how-tos of college application, career preparation, and the knowledge to navigate tools and bureaucracy needed to succeed. And lastly, and most importantly for this conversation, power and influence. The ability to be at the decision-making tables of policy and the policies of institutions, to have their voices not only heard, but be the driving voice of how their communities, cities, states, and the country are supported, run, and organized. And so these three pillars bundled up into the new initiative that we created as the umbrella framework for how we think about systems change and student engagement. W+P equals X, workforce plus persistence, and for college persistence, which is the X factor, or the goal, whatever that may be that young people hold for their own life success. To put this philosophy into action, WPX and our scholarships now kick off every year with Reset, where we bring those tools of systems change, those continuous improvement tools that we engage with the initiatives that we support directly into the hands of the young people to ideate and design solutions to the issues that are most meaningful for them and their communities together with their peers. A Reset is run like a hackathon. It's this intense single-day in-person event. And now this last iteration, we piloted on Zoom with Breakout Rooms, where scholars are placed into teams and specifically address the societal issues that they care about: homelessness, mental health access for Black and Brown communities. These issues and teams are based on what the scholars wrote in their scholarship application essay, responding to the prompt: what is one problem they see in the world, and how do they see their college and career trajectory having an impact on addressing it? Across the day at Reset, our staff team also walks them through those tools of continuous improvement, and those guide them through iterating on the problem of focus, developing a team proposal, and how to test a scaled down solution in a year-long time frame. So Janasha is going to be speaking to you about this a little bit more in depth in just a moment. The teams are also partnered with professionals from the community who have deep expertise in the issue of focus of the team to support the development of their proposal. But the teamwork is ultimately largely led and facilitated by the young people themselves. And this is really where we see them shine. They step up to the task, often without having met each other the prior day. They jump in and quickly take ownership and lead the charge to develop really rich proposals for the kinds of changes they want to see that really encapsulate their passions for giving back to their communities. So I want to now share with you the voice of one of our scholars from 2018. Her name is Inija, and she's going to speak a little bit about some of her passions when she was at Reset. And I think this really represents kind of where our young people stand.
Great.
Hi, my name is Inija. I graduated from McClymonds High School, and I will be attending Xavier University of Louisiana in the fall, and my major is going to be biology pre-med. Two things that I'm very passionate about is one, being an outgoing, I want to say, how do I phrase this? I'm passionate about traveling, most definitely. Thinking on a global scale, because as Americans, we like to think about what's now and what's here and what's going on, and not thinking about other people and the consequences of our actions that are ripple effects throughout the whole entire world. And I like to think on a global scale, and another thing that I'm passionate about is the liberation of my people. Is when we as Black people are really truly united, because I feel like once we are all on the same page, it will be once again a ripple effect, and every other social problem that is going on in the world will be solved through that, because as Black people, we are leaders in everything that we do, and we need to recognize and realize the power within we hold. And we just need to come together as one. That's one thing that I'm very passionate about. And then the other thing is, once again, like thinking on a global scale, because then it's Black people all over across the world, it's Asian people all across the world, Latino people all across the world. It's just coming together, uniting, and not allowing somebody, our brother or sister, to suffer in another country because they're going without food when we're throwing away a whole plate of food. So that's one thing I'm really passionate about. Two things.
Yeah, she's really powerful, and she's definitely not alone. This space at Reset
annually, we are blown away by what the young people are bringing to the table. And so now I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Janasha Higgins, who will go more in depth on the actual tools that we use at Reset on continuous improvement that are done with the young people. Thank you.
Thank you, Arianna. So yes, I'm going to talk about 5 major tools that we use to help engage students in an event that we call Reset. Reset is an event that we are integrating systems change thinking as well as continuous improvement to help support students in solving an issue that's aligned with their college and career interests. The first tool is team coaches who are working professionals who are matched with teams based on their mutual interests and that are aligned with those interests of students. And we definitely feel that they are a critical ingredient to this work because the coaches serve as thought partners to help support students in transforming their social impact ideas into an actionable project. Throughout their time together, the teams, they participate in a series of exercises to help understand the team's issue, define the change that they want to make, and how to test the idea that they came up with. The second tool is called a root cause analysis, where they try to fully understand and unpack all of the possible reasons why a problem is happening before they jump right into a solution. The third tool is called an aim statement, where students identify the goal and all of the steps, or what we like to call change ideas, that are needed to help reach a goal. We recognize that there are a number of different ways that one could go about actually solving a problem. So with the fourth tool, we talk about how to create a test plan with just one of the change ideas that the students come up with. And we like to call that the Plan, Do, Study Act, or also known as the PSA cycle. And for the last 6+ years, Marcus Foster Education Institute has used the same methodology with all of our systems change grantee partners. So yes, that concludes our presentation. Are there any questions?
One of the common questions that we get tends to center around how huge systems change issues are and what we can realistically expect to achieve with leadership. And our response to that question is yes, we understand the size and scale of the challenges, but we think it's really important that young people be taught to see systems so that as they journey through their college career and their professional careers, they're able to analyze and be much more impactful and hopefully socially conscious and aware in the work that they're engaged in. Arianna can share one example of a student who directly applied some of the tools that she learned in Reset back in 2018.
Yeah, one of our scholars, Marwa Al-Lafi, she went to UC Berkeley, and about a year or 2 years into her education there, she reached back out to us and was really excited about everything that she had learned 2 years prior at Reset, and was thinking she was in a space where she was tasked as almost a program manager for a program to support the development of a pipeline of high school students from the Bay Area, particularly from Oakland, and preparing them to go into a pre-med track at UC Berkeley. And in that space, she really saw that there was kind of a lack of what she felt students were, their history, their culture, where they come from in their communities was not necessarily valued in what they were bringing to the table and how in their training and preparation and in the tutoring and support that they were receiving. And she felt like that was a real lack and wanted to figure out, how do we drill down? How do I go back to Reset, take those tools that I learned, and bring them into this space and with my team to think about how we can maybe redesign or readdress, look at that system and see how we can make some changes that might better support the young people. So that was, we were really excited by her passion for wanting to take those tools up again, and had a couple sessions, with her and helped coach her up again.
Do we have other questions? I see we have some other folks. I can't tell.
Yeah, we're not familiar with this platform. It's our first time. It's our first rodeo here. But we encourage conversation. We think we know how to bring you in so that you can actually speak if you don't want to type a question. And we would welcome an exchange and dialogue with those who are in the room with us. Or we could talk about Dr. Harry Edwards, because he was pretty amazing. So until we get a question, I'll just keep talking. I'm sorry. Yes, that was going to be my next. Courtney was queuing me up to talk more about how organizations use these tools. As Janasha, I'll take this off. You can hear me a little better. As Janasha mentioned, the tools that we teach the young people at Reset every year are the same tools that we use with adults who are working in professional settings, because really the methodologies are all the same. It comes down to a disciplined set of practices and applying accountability in a way that is supportive and engaging and doesn't cause individuals involved in the conversations to sort of shut down on a conversation about systemic change. So we believe firmly that there are opportunities to engage with individuals in systems who work in schools and school districts around particular issues to move the needle in a substantial way around what students and families needed in order to be supported. We see this work as the first attempt to create the documentation and the needs around the decimation of our safety net system. This work comes from a realization that the erosion of those systems and the lack of capacity that exists in our public education systems, we have to engage with one another in a different kind of dialogue from a data-informed standpoint to build the arguments to get to the place where we're seeing the kind of outcomes that we want to see based on the resources that are invested. So we have to start somewhere, right? We have to start this conversation somewhere. And, we can wait for the perfect amount of resources, the perfect amount of funding with the perfect staff, but that's not where we are. We have to start with where we are with the people that are available. And we know that we have most everything we need. We certainly have the talent. So maybe one of us should read it. I'm sorry. So this is from Shane Sutherland. Hi, my son is really strong on developing young community leaders in social justice. Are there organizations that empower young men of color, a platform for open discussion? He currently attends Bishop O'Dowd as a freshman and is looking for a group to discuss openly on their level. Excellent question. Excellent. Who'd like to take that?
I was thinking about College Bound Brotherhood, but want to elaborate further?
Shane, would you be willing to come into the room so we can have a conversation? And I wish I could tell you how to do that. But, oh, there you are. Yay. Great.
Hi,
He's coming. Hey, welcome, Shane.
Hi, well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, so my son is really, especially since the George Floyd issue, really big on social injustice, and he actually even before that was really heavily involved in it. He actually did a project at a school. He used to go to Assumption in San Leandro, and it's called his Genius Project. And he wrote a real long presentation on where he wants to start his own organization to help young men of color and speaking on social injustice. And just trying to find out if there are any open organizations out there now that's currently empowering young men that where they can speak, get together as a group on their level and just speak about what's going on in the community and things like that, and not always have to talk to an adult about it, but where they can get together and just kind of have open dialogue and talk.
Hi.
Sorry about that.
I actually have been in contact, well, not me, technically. I have a friend who's also very involved in the social justice movement right now. He is the second year in college. However, he belongs to a number of groups in Oakland that do activities and have groups around social justice. He and his friend, my son's name is Akil O'Reilly. He and his friend Xavier, who also went to Bishop O'Dowd, organized a march a couple months ago that led a group, a very large group, 15,000 from Oakland to downtown Oakland. But since that time, I have built relationships with a lot of leaders, and they meet regularly. They really do. And there are several groups that belong to that meet in Oakland, and there's I think one also that has a very large Bay Area group that meets in San Francisco as well. There's a young man who organized the protest in San Francisco that had thousands of people as well as in that group. I can, if you want to share your contact information, I can share that directly with you, the names of the group and the contact information for that. But I have to ask my son, of course, too. But he is actually also here, and he told me just last week, I was sharing, he told me last week that he would be willing to chat with young people one-on-one as well. So, but also Xavier went to Bishop O'Dowd, and his brother goes there too. I'm sure that would be a good connection for your son.
Okay, great. Yeah, I put my email in the chat box. I'll put my email here in the chat box. I don't know if you can hear me.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
We're sorry, we couldn't hear what you just said.
He'll put his email in the chat box. Thank you, Shane. Are there any other questions? I know we have, I think it's almost at that time, right? So, thank you. We see it.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Main session.
I can't hear you, Arianna.
Yeah, I was just saying, if there's, we're happy to answer
Any further questions if there are any, but if not, I think we're about to go back to the main stage.
And will we automatically be?
No.
I think we have to go there ourselves.
Yeah, I think we do.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you, everybody.